Marvel Spider-Man on PS4. If you already have a PS4, then you need to get this game. And if you don't have a PS4 yet, then you need to... Hang on a second, my spidey sense is tingling.
Spider-Man, Spider-Man, does whatever a spider can. Spins a web any size, catches thieves just like flies. Look out, here comes the Spider-Man.
So I've been a fan of Spider-Man since I was introduced to him in 2002 in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire, who still happens to be my favourite Spider-Man, and maybe that's just the nostalgia talking. And yes, I know that Spider-Man 3 was an abomination.
Crap, mega crap.
But Spider-Man 2 is still probably one of the greatest comic book movies ever made, at least in my opinion. But anyways, back to the first movie. It came out when I was 12 years old, and I remember coming home after I watched it and dreaming about becoming Spider-Man. And I woke up the next morning full excited, trying to climb the walls, and obviously I was really disappointed. But funny enough, 16 years later, the same thing happened again after I picked up this game. So although I was disappointed that I didn't get powers from being bitten by a genetically modified spider, I did have the next best consolation prize, which is this game, because it really did make me feel like being Spider-Man. And I'll get into that right now, and all the different ways that this game nails the essence of Spider-Man. So let's start with the gameplay. The most essential part of nailing the Spider-Man experience is getting the web slinging right, the traversal, swinging around the city just like the way Spider-Man does. I remember from previous Spider-Man games when you swung around the city, the webs were just magically attached to skyhooks in the sky, which made things really convenient but was completely unrealistic. This way it feels more natural, more like Spider-Man, and it also makes you think about how you have to get places. I have to say, there is a really good ebb and flow to the way that you web and go. Everything just feels so perfect. The physics, while not completely realistic, was just so perfect for the fun factor. Getting from place to place was a joy. So although there was a fast travel option, I rarely ever used it. I think I just used it 5 times so that I could unlock the achievement. But apart from that, I just preferred to swing around. Now let's get to the combat. As some of you have probably noticed, I'm a big fan of the Batman Arkham games. And it looks like Insomniac borrowed quite heavily from the Arkham series by Rocksteady. They do share some very similar mechanics. They both have finishes, you can use gadgets in both of them. There are some small differences like Batman counters and Spider-Man dodges. Spider-Man makes use of his advanced superhero athleticism and his web powers a lot more, obviously. But the thing I like the most about the Arkham games is the real martial arts they used. Because I'm such a martial arts geek, I noticed they actually copied some of the moves from some movies that I had seen, like Tom Yum Goong. In Spider-Man, there was a lot more creative use of the superpowers and the webbing, and there was a lot more fluid and dynamic, the way you could just jump around and zip from person to person and deal devastating blows. The stealth is also very reminiscent of the Arkham series as well, but that's bound to happen.
Near the energy cells. Move quick. No!
There are also heaps of side quests and challenges for you to do, and heaps of collectibles to find. If you're a completionist like me, it's gonna take you quite a long time to finish it all. And that's not including the main story. I've seen in some reviews that some people were upset with the number of QuickTime events, or QTEs. But I understand why they did that. It wasn't too many or overbearing. Doing those QuickTime events allows for really scripted and cinematic action sequences, which could just be a cutscene, but allow you to actually interact with them.
Go! Did that just happen?
Speaking of cinematic, let's get to the story. One of the most underrated and underappreciated facets of video games these days is that they're virtually cinematic masterpieces. They're better than a lot of movies that I've seen, and they're interactive, and because of that it makes you more immersed in the characters and the story. It makes you feel like you're more part of the journey than just watching some characters on a screen. So this game takes place 8 years into Spider-Man's career. So you don't have to watch poor Uncle Ben getting shot all over again. I'm sure he's pretty tired of that. So in this game, Peter and MJ had been going out but had broken up recently. But there's obviously something still there. And the way that it plays out is very realistic and relatable. And I thought that was really cool to see.
Okay.
Speaking of MJ, they've kind of made her into Lois Lane in this. She's no longer just a damsel in distress. She's kind of a badass. She's a journalist, just like Lois. And you actually get to play as her and interact with Spider-Man and do some cool missions with her too. The motion capture and voice acting is excellent across the board, but I have to give special mention to Yuri Lowenthal, who plays Peter Parker / Spider-Man. He completely nails Spider-Man's happy-go-lucky nature.
I know you! You were on my neighbor's porch for Halloween!
Boom!
Pew, pew, pew! You're in luck, Yuri. Your favorite tough but lovable grizzled seen-too-much detective is in town.
What? No. You promised you wouldn't do that
Spider Cop.
Please, no.
But you can feel the nuanced pain he has deep within. Because Spider-Man has to hype himself up to keep motivated. He has to put on that facade. But deep down, there's a lot of things that aren't going right for him. And it's very relatable the way they pull that off and the way Yuri portrays that.
But I just wanted to say, good job.
Thanks, Yuri. I kinda needed that.
Spider-Man has to face a whole smorgasbord of his villains in this movie. Sorry, I mean game. But that's how cinematic all of this feels. The action is jaw-dropping. It's so freaking awesome and cinematic and imaginative and creative. There's so much finesse and attention to detail. In fact, the whole game has so much attention to detail. There's so many Easter eggs for us Marvel fans to find out there.
Hold on. If he's blind, how did he know I was Spider-Man?
Make sure you pay attention to everything. So now we've come to the verdict, and I have to give this 5 out of 5 pies. There's no doubt about it. I can't think of a single negative flaw with enough significance to detract from that score at all. Anything would be nitpicking, and even then I can't think of anything off the top of my head. So get this game. The action is amazing, gameplay is amazing, the cinematics are amazing, the acting is amazing, the story is amazing, everything is amazing. So just get this game. Do it.
Seriously, do it. Do it. Do it.
So that was my first game review. I hope you liked it. I've also done plenty of movie reviews. Well, not plenty, only about 5 so far. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe to my Facebook and YouTube pages, and I'll see you later. Stay awesome.
Spider-Man, Spider-Man, does whatever a spider can. Spins a web any size, catches thieves just like flies. Look out, here comes the Spider-Man.